Welcome. Just going from Zoom to YouTube, traveling. Welcome to Global Seer and Harself. It's 7:30 in Vancouver, Pacific time in Canada. All right. Welcome. There'll be a description in the chat. And I just blow dried my hair, so I'm like, and it's super hot in Vancouver. Sending lots of love. Okay. So Seer and Herself. And just got confirmation that the sound is good, so thank you. Good morning, Senija. I just looked at the chat. There's something exciting coming in, I feel like, for you. Because as soon as you came in, I was like, that was the message that was coming through. Something exciting's coming in. And then I looked at the chat and you were here. So welcome, good morning. Senija says, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Elaine. And I'll send you some love. Yeah, the wind is here, a little bit of wind. It's been really hot in Vancouver for the last couple of days. Helen's here too. Hey, everyone listening at work. And she's got like a little blue guy, a little blue emoji. I'll give you some hearts, send you some hearts, Helen. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And so it was really interesting. So I was writing, so the next decree that's coming out is on Saturday, and it's the Voodoo Spells. And it's spells with an S because usually there's more than one spell. And I think when I did it, I checked, I asked, how many spells were in my name in all time space, and there were like 1,500 or something like that. There was over 1,000. So and I'm going to do it differently now. I'm going to post each chapter every day. So there's 13 chapters. So it'll be like one chapter will be posted every day because I think it's so long. It was over 2 hours long, the whole decree. And then I was working on another decree last night called the Identity Theft Decree. And so that one brought up some interesting experiences. So I was writing it, and then in writing it, it does seem like there is repetition in the degrees because there's important things, because I know not everybody's going to be watching every decree and not from the beginning. So they might just be popping in to a title that calls to them. And then this morning before I woke up, I was like in the water, but it didn't look like an ocean. It actually looked like a pool, actually. So it was like a contained water. And then there was like this huge crocodile in the water. And then the crocodile, of course, was coming towards me. So then I thought, okay, well, I'm gonna jump on the back of the crocodile and because it was trying to, eat me, basically like, chomp me up for breakfast. And then so how I kind of escaped was I had to climb on the back of the crocodile, and it was like holding on the back. But then of course, they're very powerful. So, flipped me off in the water. And then I barely got away. And then I said, because it was like snapping at me, and I barely got away. And I immediately in my dream said, I do not consent to these experiences, and I'm gonna claim this experience in source's name, and I am asking for source's justice and source's mercy, and I want compensation for this experience. And then I said that all of that in my dream, and then I woke up and I had such a bad headache. It hurt so much, like almost like it hurt in my eyes because I was like seeing it so clearly, like it felt like it was actually happening. And then I opened my window and I put my head out the window, kind of get back into nature. And then I went to put the fan in the window because it was hot. And then my crystal, this crystal that I've had like since 1990, fell on the ground off my desk. It's so heavy. Like it's really solid, heavy, heavy crystal. And then right away I heard, put it on your head. So I put it on my forehead because my head was killing. I almost thought, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do the YouTube live. And so I lay down and I put the crystal on my head, and what it felt like like kind of, because what the experience was with the crocodile or alligator, it was so intense that it was like my third eye kind of, it was so crystal clear. I was seeing it so clearly and feeling it. It was like my third eye was on fire. And then when I put the crystal on my head and I just lay there, it actually felt like it sucked out my headache and tension. I was blown away. I really thought, like, it hurts so much, my head. Oh, there's a crow. Oh my goodness. There's a crow that just landed. Yeah. So anyways, but it was the first time where I was actually in my dream state, um, and then was able to claim it in source's name, like in the moment, and then actually revoke these kind of experiences, revoke these kinds of dreams. Yeah, the crow just flew past the window. So, whoops. Um, yeah. So it's interesting. So, yeah, the wind just picked up. I just feel like it's all kind of clearing that. So it's kind of like even when things are happening like in our dream state or in our present life, it's like that anchoring, that anchoring immediately into sources, calling things in source's name, claiming experiences in source's name, and then revoking experiences and then sending them to source. So, and then I have one more other connection with dreams. So my friend, she's an empath, and she feels everything. So I see everything first as a seer, but she will feel everything in her body first, but she sees but through the body. And then we compare, notes to see what did you see, and then we both saw the same thing, except I see it and then she doesn't get the visuals. She actually feels it in her body. So she's been having nightmares for the last couple of nights. I guess they're getting the dark triad are getting very desperado. So she's been, but I also see it as like that we're awakening and anchoring and embodying the higher consciousness of 5D consciousness. And so then there's wanting to interfere with that so that doesn't stabilize, but it is stabilizing. And so she was having trouble sleeping for a couple of nights. And so she, we both, kind of like if I learn something, I share it with her. And she said, none of it was working. So she said, then I just thought I'm gonna call in Elaine, me. So she called me in. And she said it worked because we're both in 3D bodies, and we're both on the 3D plane, and we're both awakening and anchoring our consciousness in our bodies. And then she said, so then the next night she called me in again to protect her in her sleep. And then she said she had a really good sleep because it's very typical for attacks to happen in our sleep because we're vulnerable, right? Our eyes are closed. We're in the, we're in the delta, theta brain state first is just before you're going to sleep. And then the delta is the deep sleep. And so, whew. Yeah. So it's been interesting. But that was the first time I actually went into action and did the protocol of calling in source and naming things in source's name and revoking experiences and revoking attacks like in my dream. So to me that was I would see that as like a close connection to source, like a close like it shows that I have like that I trust, I trust my connection with source and I trust that when things happen and that the protocol feels like it comes in automatically even in my unconscious state, even in the delta sleep state, which you're so compromised because you're asleep. If I'm awake, my, wits are more about me and I can see things and feel things. So, yeah, it's the message I got is, yeah, they got the little stinker that did the attack, and Earth has received it with the crow coming across the window. So the Earth has received it. Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of those are a couple of things that have been happening because I know with Senija we've been talking about dreams and what happens in the dream state and the vulnerability of the dream state. Okay, so let's take a look at the chat. Senija says she, her. Thank you, Senija. Senija, she, her, 1973. Can you please ask my higher self how to claim our land back? People can't even sleep in their vehicle without being harassed. Okay, thank you. And then how about land claiming? How about a land claiming decree? Yep, thank you. And then Senija says, good morning, Helen, and like a hug kind of emoji and double pink hearts. And then Senija says, I feel interference in the awake state for a few days now, including today. Okay, great, interesting. Yeah, I mean, not great that's happening, but that's great that you're noticing it, right? That is the big thing is we need to see things and name them in the moment, the closest to the present moment. And then Senija says, wow, that's awesome, Elaine. I'm really happy for you. And a hug and a kind of a trophy, a golden trophy. Thanks, Senija. Yeah, so it does show, like it shows that we can go into action really quickly and that presence, like our presence, our connection to source through the heart, our presence, our kind of our divine connection kind of does it, even though it's not like we live in a bubble and nothing happens to us in 3D because 3D is so convoluted, it's that when things happen, things can flip very quickly and they can turn very quickly. So um Helen says, hey Senija, sending you unconditional love and protection energy. Oh, that's beautiful. Thanks, Helen. I'm going to send you both some hearts and whoever else is listening. If anybody else wants to have to ask a question, a seer and higher self question, I just need your first name and your year of birth and then your pronoun. She, her, he, they, and then your question for your higher self. Okay, so let's just have some water. Actually, this is coconut water. Even though I don't believe, I don't know, Senija, you probably know more about this. Even though I don't believe, I'm not going to show the packaging, but the Tetra Paks of the organic coconut water, I don't believe that the only ingredients is organic coconut water because how does it stay, um, how does it stay? Like this is good till 2027. But it's saying there's the only thing that is in the ingredient list is, where is it? Organic coconut water. That's it. That's the only thing in the ingredients list. How can it be that be the only thing in the ingredients list and it's good till 2027? And it says there's no sugar added. I don't know. It doesn't feel, it feels like they can just put whatever. My friend, the friend that came into the dreams, or that I came into her dreams, because she called me to come into her dreams. She actually reads labels like all the time. So we go to buy something and she reads the label. So then I started reading the label and then I was like, hey, wait a minute. This doesn't make sense. How can it just be like the ingredients have just organic coconut water and no flavoring? And I don't know. It just doesn't feels like they can just do whatever they want, right? Including, it seems like with the land. Like how long ago has that been happening? Like what, 5,000 years ago, or was it like less? Where all of a sudden, land there was like land claims and I mean, I think Earth is the only one. I haven't heard of another planet where there's where like, 3 billionaires or trillionaires like own own the planet, own the land, and then have all these rules. So that's kind of connects with the part 22, the identity theft decree. That's going to be coming out after the voodoo spells decree. Because it's like that happens the instant, with our birth certificate where our parents are named as um the parent instead of the mother and the father. Like, just like, no, I'm not the parent of my child. I am the mother. But it's all that legal, all the legal, anyways, that could be in a decree in itself, like all the legal things, like even just all the updates and all the software updates you have to sign that you have to agree to with Apple. Like we have no idea. Like we're not lawyers, right? They have everything set up that, if you're not a lawyer or an accountant, those are pretty much the only things that function in 3D. You'd be very busy as a lawyer or an accountant in 3D because 3D is basically the administrators are lawyers and accountants. But, we have to bring humor into these situations because that's like madness. But 5D, in the 5D state, there is no hierarchy like that, and you basically are not interested. Like you're not interested. It's like, yeah, I'm getting like 100%. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so sending lots of hearts. Okay, and then Senija says, thanks, Helen, back to you. 100 fold with it, angel, a hug, and a double pink heart. Beautiful. And then Helen sends, I think they're healing hearts. And then Senija says they're allowed to hide 10% of the ingredients. Oh, they're allowed. Air quotes, they're allowed. Yeah, they're allowed to do whatever they want, you know. Like 3D Earth has been a prisoner planet and they just roll out whatever they want. That's kind of what it's, but we can't be like, it's not hopeless, not be hopeless about it because actually like our consciousness, and I feel like that's what my dream showed. Um, like obviously if I was, if it was like a reptilian, so instead of looking like a reptilian, like a human reptile, it was like a full reptile, like a huge alligator. Like I felt tiny compared to this giant alligator or crocodile. but they, even in that, weakened state, like source intervened anyways, because I was calling in source. So I was like, intervene in any way necessary, for my highest good, but for me to escape this, basically, to survive this. So I thought, whoa, that's like real light worker work, is, we're even working in our dreams. But thank you, Senija. Thank you for the information. Yeah, and celebration. Yeah, exactly. Thank you for the celebration emojis that came through, sending love back. Okay, so let's look at Sinija's question. So Senija, she, her, 1973, can you please ask my higher self how to claim our land back? And people can't even sleep in their vehicle without being harassed. Yeah, it's really true, actually. Like, they're wanting to, well, it's basically so that we're not free at all ever. Like, we're always monitored, right? We're monitored on our phones, we're monitored on our computers. Like, if you're on your phone and you're listening to something and then you go on social media, and then social media will have a post, or say you were talking about like a certain car or something, and then you go on social media, and then the on social media will be all about that car, like, there's no privacy. And then there's no privacy. I saw this one woman where she offers people to come stay on her land that are living like in their vehicles, if they, not to like live on her land, but if they need a stopover, if there's nowhere for them to like rest for the evening, she offers her land for people to stop in. um and I think I saw that on TikTok. And I thought, well, that's, so she actually showed, like, she had a big parcel of land. I think it was in the States. And then people can like park their RVs or their campers, for the night or two. So hopefully maybe people will start doing stuff like that, because we're all here to help each other and help each other, be safe and to awaken, and also to not, once you stop buying into the system of, how things appear, taking off your rose-colored glasses, right? So consciousness requires that awakening from believing everything as it is, and actually starting to ask questions, and then you start asking questions, and then you start seeing things as they are, not how you're being told to perceive them. And then to stay out of the fear of it, and to stay, like, that's where the real power is. The real power is staying with source, and um and staying out of the low frequencies of fear and control and trauma. Yeah. Okay, so let's look into Sinija's question. Um, Maybe my head is still a bit a bit slow today. Like, need my giant crystal back. My giant crystal. Okay. All right. And that's the thing is, right? Like, the helpers come forward, like that crystal, the crystal came forward. Like, how it dropped off my desk, like, that was unbelievable, right? And then I was like, oh, wait a minute, is that like an attack, or why did that happen? And then I was like, oh, it was actually like offering, like, I can help you, I can help you, and just put me on your head, basically. And the crystal helped. So, and then, as we're awakening in frequency, our carbon 3D body is turning into a light body. Another word for light body is diamond body. So as soon as the interference is clearing, the density in us, the 3D density, and then not going. And if we do drop into the lower frequencies of 3D, anger, shame, guilt, fear, especially fear, then, and we start stabilizing in the heart space and connecting to source. So, and then that's 5D. 5D is like, I surrender, but I'm not surrendering to anything. I'm surrendering to source through the heart, and I'm stabilizing my frequency with source in my heart. All right, so let's take a look. Okay, going to Senija's question. Senija says, I got really frustrated when I see things the way they are and not being able to do or change anything. Yeah, for sure. But that's what they want you to feel. They want you to feel powerless, right? Like you're seeing things as they are, but you are powerless. Like they want us to believe that we're powerless. But what we learned from that consciousness chart by Dr. Hawkins is if you maintain your frequency at a heart-based frequency, then you help 750,000 other light workers stabilize in their heart frequency. So you're not doing nothing. You're just, that's the 3D trick. The 3D trick is, oh, but you're going to see things, but you're too powerless to change them. You're not a billionaire. You're not a trillionaire. You can't change things. And 5D is a frequency. 3D is an inversion. So the inversion is that the psychopaths, sociopaths, narcissists are the leaders. That's the inversion. And then what's happening in 5D is that is flipping. So the empaths, the sensitives, the ones connected to their heart space are basically the top or the leaders. They'll be like the leaders of 5D, not because they want to lead, but because they can hold the space of consciousness, of source consciousness in a 3D body. And so then, if we fall into like nihilism, which is like, like I don't care, or we don't, nothing can change, there's nothing we can do about it, it all feels hopeless. Well, that's low 3D. That's what they want us to feel. They want us to be in that low state of hopelessness, helplessness, sadness, anxiety, fear, guilt. And it's like, no, when you are, what my dream showed, when you're connecting to source consciousness, even if you're in a compromised state, like the sleep state is a compromised state, then, things can shift very quickly. So, and then help comes forward, like the crystal came forward. And I got the message, put it on my head. I've never put my crystal, it's so heavy. This is such a huge, heavy crystal. And I put it on my head and I lay there with it on my head until my head went away. That's amazing. Like, that is amazing. Like, that's 5D. There's a crow just landed again. Oh, two crows. Huh. So it's a busy morning. So Senija says, I revoke and sent the note I've got to source, and then I claimed the earth in source's name, And then Senija said, but I feel that's not enough. Yeah, exactly. And that's that hopelessness, right? Because in 3D, they're like, oh, but don't say no, you don't have my consent because, there's nothing you can do about it. Like you're in our system. And thing of the whole thing about 3D is that 3D is a frequency and it is horizontal. And 5D, 60, 70, 80, 90 is vertical. Source is a vertical connection through the heart. And 3D is horizontal, where all the muck is. That's where karma loops are. That's where recursion is. Everything is just rinse and repeat. We're not even rinsing at this point. We're just repeating. There's no cleansing. It's just repeat, 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 repeat. That's 3D. And it's like set up that way, but if as soon as we're in 5D, we're like, no, like I'm not in a cage. Like, no, you cannot put human beings in a cage. No, you cannot put light workers in a cage. And I don't need you. Like, we don't need the 3D material plane. We don't need the Archons. We don't need the Draco Reptilians. We don't need the Anunnaki. We don't need 3D. We don't need it. Like when you're connected to source and as a source emanated being, you don't need the horizontal. You don't need the 3D. They need your energy, but you don't need them. And then as soon as you stabilize in the 5D frequency and source consciousness, so we're not here to figure out, everything. We're here to figure out our own state of being. And then when you figure out it, because they're always said, oh, but that's selfish, right? If you're just focusing on yourself and your frequency, that's selfish, right? That's what you hear in 3D. All the dark triad, if you are dating or married to a narcissist, you will hear that you're selfish and that you need to sacrifice yourself. You need to sacrifice yourself till you're almost dead if you're married to a narcissist. Okay, they want you to have absolutely nothing. No sovereignty, no self-care. It's all about them. Sacrifice, give all your energy, all your attention, everything to them. That is 3D. Right? So if we start, thinking, okay, well, it's my will, I'm going to heal the earth, or I'm going to awaken this person, right? It's false. Like Eckhart told me that in 2000, I can't awaken my family. Like I can only choose to awaken myself. And then if they choose, they can awaken themselves. Right? But we can't make people awaken. We can't bribe, right? 3D is full of bribes. We can't bribe people to awaken. We can't manipulate people to awaken. We can't control people into awakening. Like, it's a cosmic law. Free will is a cosmic law, and that is interfered with the most in the horizontal in 3D. There's no respect. There's no respect for people. There's no respect for people's bodies. There's no respect for people's souls. Okay, so I know we haven't gotten to Sanija's question yet, but so try sleeping with a crystal on your forehead. Yeah, yeah, I think I do have these crystals that I do put them on my head. They're flat and they're selenite, and I put them on my heart and I put them on my solar plexus, and I have two of them, and I do sleep with them, and I slept with them last night, but it wasn't enough. Selenite wasn't enough. I needed the big crystal. I needed this one. I needed the big one. Okay. I slept with a silver coin and black tourmaline and was more aware. But you can choose different crystals. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, exactly. And it's all by your intuition, right? Like, I mean, your intuition's your higher self. And so we're just getting that information from our higher self is how I see it. Let's have some water. Hmm. It's 8:08 a.m. in Vancouver. Senija says she glued hers with tape. Oh yeah. All right, so let's take a look at Sinija's question. So I read it out and then I didn't actually tune into it, but let's tune into it for Senija. So Senija, her 1973, can you please ask my higher self how to claim our land back? People can't even sleep in their vehicle without being harassed. Okay, let's take a look. So Senija, 1973. Okay. I think that what they're saying is, okay, they're talking a lot. They're saying actually for Senija, for you, and maybe for others that have the same question and this resonates, they're saying that when you connect with the frequency of joy, it is a high frequency that is very rare in 3D, but it is a fast track to connecting to source. And just even having like joy in nature, like um they're saying the key is in nature, because what happens in the mind is the mind will go very, very fast into all of these different scenarios, and it will bring you into the low 3D. So they're saying if you can try to stay in the frequency of joy and then nature, and then that will keep you out of the mind, because the mind doesn't have any solutions, right? So they're saying almost like first, the anchor is individual. Okay. The consciousness is the anchor is individual. And then it can emanate out to others, right? But if we're like not in the frequency of joy, and then that's in the frequency of connecting to earth, it's like they're saying, what they're saying is like we're missing, that's missing the plot. Like that is missing the plot, because then you're basically perceiving through the 3D lens, which is like everything is hopeless. We have to be afraid, people aren't safe. And yes, there's many examples of that, but if we buy into it and have like a fear response, then when we have that fear response, we drop into low 3D, which is like 100, 200, like 1D, 2D. And so, in order to stabilize our own body and our own frequency by anchoring into joy through the heart, that's connecting to our higher self, and that's stabilizing our frequency in 5D. So the fast track always is anchoring back into 5D. Even if you drop into fear, that you come back. And they're saying they're showing like the elevator back for Senija would be joy. So trying to bring in joy into your life. And also like humor, like if we get into all like the fear, that's 3D. 3D, they will do like everything to make sure that you are not just afraid, but terrified 24/7. So in the movies, um, in the media, in the news, it's like constant, constant, constant fear, 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 fear. No one is safe. And, like they're saying like the moment of surrender of that stabilizing your consciousness is through the connection of joy for Senija and anybody else that resonates with this. They're saying your frequency is what matters the most right now, if you choose, right? If you choose. And staying and connecting with joy would be like a fast track. And they're saying they know that maybe it's like not easy, but they're saying that that's available right now. And then connecting to nature. Yeah. They're just kind of helping with the wind. They're just kind of helping, kind of like see if they can just blow things out of you that like maybe is not for your highest and greatest good right now. If you want to release it, they're saying they're just gonna like open the pathways to kind of, let the wind kind of take some stuff away. Yeah, I mean, and then they're just saying like anchoring into joy is like a fast track elevator. And they're saying, like if joy is so frivolous, then how come it is not so easy, right? In 3D. So it's almost like what is not so easy is actually the key. Like letting go isn't so easy. Surrender isn't so easy. Asking for help isn't so easy, but they're actually the keys. Anchoring into joy into the heart isn't so easy, but it's actually a key. And anchoring in heart-based consciousness, or you can call it 5D consciousness or heart-based consciousness, or you can call it new earth consciousness. But it starts with us first. Yeah, and they're saying also too, it'd be more powerful, like if that was what is that something that actually has happened to you, or you're hearing stories of it happening to other people, right? Because there's a lot of NPCs, and a lot of NPCs are planted. Like there was a woman that, got hurt recently, and I'm starting to wonder if all of those kind of these random weird situations are happening to invoke fear, invoke fear of enjoying yourself at the beach, or invoke fear of traveling, or invoke fear of like living in, like people are wanting to give up their houses and live in like tiny homes, or also, to live in trailers and stuff and motorhomes, so are these situations there to like invoke fear so that you don't try it yourself? So if you have the idea for yourself, that it stops you from trying it yourself because you're hearing these, frightening stories. They're just helping you anchor in the low part of your back. Yeah, and they just really want to suggest the anchoring with joy, joy being the focus. Does this bring me joy? And then just asking, source, like, please intervene in any way necessary for me and my highest good, so I can anchor in joy in the heart. Yeah, just releasing the back for Senija. Good. They know, like it's almost like when you're working with your frequency and clearing your frequency, we almost have to ignore. It's not that you're putting your head in the sand. We just have to ignore things because we don't know why, you know, we don't know what the kind of bigger story is, or the behind the story and then the behind the story, but you do know what's happening with your body. Like, you do know if you're in fear or if you're in joy. And they're saying, like, start there, start with the anchor within and then move your way out. But the anchor is first within. Because if we're like out of our body and like, oh, this is happening in Africa and this is happening and Iran and then this, and it's just like we're going to be constantly dysregulated, constantly in fear, and constantly hopeless and helpless. So they're saying the anchor first comes in inside us first, anchoring into the heart space and then connecting with joy. Okay, so let's take a look at the chat. I feel like that's um yeah, so Senija says, I was in my joy sleeping in nature and got interfered with. Yeah, exactly. Like the the interference is typical 3D, right? And then what happens when you're interfered with? What happens to you? Do you buy into the interference, or do you send that interference to source and claim basically compensation from source? Like, I would get that. So what Cindy just saying is that it happened to her. She was sleeping in her car in nature. I'm guessing you were in your car. I was in my joy, sleeping in nature, and got interfered with. Um, and got a paper warning on my car. Okay. All right. So Sinija was in her car. She was having a nap in her car, and she was in nature, and she got a paper warning on her car. Okay. Yeah. Yes, I sent it to source. No, I didn't claim compensation. Yeah. So you can say, like, I don't consent to these type of experiences. I don't consent to being interfered with my car when I'm sleeping. I don't consent to this paper warning on my car. I am sending this paper warning to source, and I'm asking for source justice with this paper warning and being interfered with. And I'm asking source for compensation for this experience, and I revoke these type of experiences. And I claim and I'm asking for source's compensation. So it's a lot of light. When you send stuff to source, it is a lot of light. If we try, 3D body, try to deal with another 3D body, right? That's when you get into these crazy divorces, where one 3D body is fighting this other 3D body, and, or bar fights, 3D unconscious body fighting the 3D unconscious body. But if we internally say, no, I do not consent to these types of experiences. I revoke these types of experiences and I send this experience to source. And then you let go, which means you stop ruminating. And then you try again and just say, like, when I'm sleeping in my car, I want full protection. Okay. So then you get interfered with and you get another note in your car. You don't automatically go into the low 3D of what? It's not working. Nothing helps. Like 3D is horrible. And then you get into maybe anger and you get super angry about it, or you get super sad and despondent, like it's hopeless. Oh, I can never sleep in my car, and it's 3D is horrible and they're so horrible, right? Our response tells us what our state of consciousness is, you know? So even in the sleep state, are you able to turn it in the moment and be like, I revoke this type of experience. I revoke this type of interference. I claim this in source's name and I send this experience to source, right? And it's like practicing, right? We've been clobbered for how many decades in 3D? How many lifetimes in 3D? Where we've gotten clobbered in other timelines, and then that needs to get healed in this 3D body, and we get caught in the fear. It was explained to me so many times of like, and I'm just like, 3D is so disgusting. So much disgusting stuff happens in 3D, and I'm told to like focus on the heart and focus on source consciousness. And you're not consenting to those, saying those experiences are okay. You're going kind of like to a higher vertical level of consciousness where you're like, I'm staying with source no matter what. And so every time you interfere with me, I'm sending it to source. And I'm not changing my mind. And I'm staying in my heart space, and I'm not changing what I want to do. I am staying with source and I surrender. It's the surrendering that is so hard. That is the anchor in 5D, is surrendering. It's not my will, it's thy will. So I surrender this to source. I do not consent to these types of experiences. And I ask for source's compensation. And then you let go. And you're not like, source, where's my compensation? Source, why are you taking so long? That's not surrender. That's 3D micromanaging. That's 3D control. Surrender is I experienced it in the moment, I caught it in the moment, and I released it to source in the moment. And it's just practice, because for thousands of years we've been trapped in this recursion. So this isn't just you, Senija, this is everybody. This is kind of how 3D works, right? And then we're supposed to get pulled into that low frequency. It's like I would do a decree on that piece of paper and I would burn that piece of paper. I would burn their warning and make a decree about their warning. So you can feel some power, so you can feel some agency, because they want you to be afraid. And then that one little piece of paper, they want you to not do it again. And it's just like, I don't consent. And just even, staying in the heart space. Like I had had so many experiences where I was like, it's so disgusting. It's just so, it took me so long to actually for it to click that when I'm saying, no, it can't be this way, or no, I don't agree, or whatever, and I'm fighting in 3D with other fighting 3D people, and we're going in circles and it's going nowhere. It's like one person has to surrender, or else you just go in that loop over and over again. And surrendering doesn't mean you agree with the other person in 3D. It just means that it's madness. And it's the horizontal, it's completely bonkers. It's not going anywhere. And so now what? And people can spend decades in that madness of that loop. It's not a judgment. It's very typical low 3D. But anchoring in 5D consciousness is also releasing what the body is holding, right? So we're not bypassing anything. So if the body is holding anger, if the body is angry about lack of justice, then we have to look at that, and the decrees are one way to take action to start helping clear the interference, clear the control systems, um, clear what's not yours, and then stating and recalling what is yours, and then anchoring in your connection to source through the heart. Yeah. 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 And they're saying, yeah, ultimately, nobody should be disturbing you. I mean, that's so rude, right? Like you're sleeping, you're peacefully sleeping in nature, not bothering anybody. And then you're getting interfered with, you know? But if we fight unconsciousness with unconsciousness, we just get more unconsciousness. So somebody has to decide, no, no, this is not for me. I'm not fighting in 3D. Yeah. Okay. They're saying like they hope this helps. That's what I heard. They hope this helps. They're funny. But they're just seeing you with lots of joy, like a joy in this area and joy in this area and joy in this area, like 3 areas of your life, you know? And then you'll really be able to land in contentment. And then when we have contentment, then, even when things come in and that interfere us, they're not going to destabilize us. We are going to stay with our intention and our focus. And then just, allow the sensations to come up, but, try without judgment, just to kind of like see the pressure for what it is, that it is very typical low 3D bullying. Like 3D is all bullying. It's all war and violence and trauma. I mean, it literally is a trauma planet. And then how do we get out of the muck is by not staying in the muck, by staying in our heart frequency, because as a light worker, you can, you know? Yeah. All right. Thank you, Senija. And take a look at the chat. Senija says, thank you, Elaine and the team. Angel, Yellow Heart, Red Rose. And Senija says, it does help. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Senija. It's a really good question, right? Because that powerlessness is a real, it is a real one. It activates the pain body. That's Eckhart Tolle's word. And then how do we overcome, or how do we get out of the muck, right? And then back into our heart space. But they're saying, three areas of joy for you, Senija. Just focus on three areas that bring you joy. And I'm sorry that that happened to you. Because it is absolutely shocking and startling when you're sleeping peacefully and then people bang on your car or interfere. It's like, go away, you know? They just think they're like little bossy pants of everything. I'm just the little bossy pants of everything. I'm the bossy pants of the land. I'm the bossy pants of all the trees. I'm the bossy pants. That's how they kind of walk around, like these little, like Napoleons, these little bossy pants, like they're just like if you see them in terms of frequency and light, they have very little light, like 1%, but here on Earth, they think they have all of the light and they have like no light. They have barely any light. So Cindy just says, I just pulled the notice out of the garbage to do a decree on it. Yeah, exactly. And that is power, right? Because you're claiming it in source's name and then you're burning it, sending it to source, which is fire. Like the element of fire is like a fast track, like the wind can clear things very quickly and fire can transmute and transform things very quickly. So good. That's awesome, Sinija. And that's true light worker work, right? We're not just buying into the fear. We're not just buying into, the controllers and the architects. Right. All right, so let's bring in the golden light of source for Senija to clear and to heal right to the root cause and to the very first incarnation so that she can really feel that joy that's coming in, and we'll bring in source's golden light and just amplify source's golden light for everybody that's watching as well, and just bringing in source's golden light into our bodies, into our being, into our system, and then holding the frequency of source consciousness through the heart. With love and thanks to the team of Only Unconditional Love and Only Source Aligned, our higher selves, Only Source Aligned, our guides, Only Source Aligned. And then we send what happened to Senija to source, and we're asking for source compensation for what happened to Senija. And we claim what happened to Senija in source's name. And then we're asking for an amplification for Senija to anchor into joy. So the support for Senija, an amplification for Senija to anchor into joy and bringing in the contentment and to help stabilize that in her field with ease and grace. So under the law of one, and to bring it in with ease and grace. And then bringing in the support, the wind for Sinija's nervous system for the fright that she received. And we also send that fright to source. And we claim that they do not have consent to frighten. And they do not have consent to claim all the land as theirs. And we claim Sinija's innocence. And we claim the interference in Source's name. Good. So anchoring in contentment through the heart. And then holding, 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 holding. So holding Senija's field of consciousness with Source. And bringing in more golden light from Source. And then anchoring into New Earth, 5D consciousness through the heart. Beautiful. And they say, yes, I surrender. Yes, we surrender and we release this to Source. Yeah, good. Beautiful. Okay. Well, thank you, Senija. Thank you, Helen, for joining the chat. And everybody else that's listening. I'll be here on Tuesday doing another YouTube live. You can ask questions. Let's end here. I'm going to send lots of hearts. That was a really good question because what happened to Senija is happening to many people. All right. See you in the next one. From my heart to yours. Thank you for being here. Take care.